Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. 3 killed in separate shootings in St. Catherine and Westmoreland. Hanover residents call for Prime Minister's intervention to get dilapidated bridge fixed. And later in sports, Reggae Girls head coach pleased with win over Paraguay. Thank you for joining us. I'm Shamela Pullen. Here are the details. Up first this afternoon, 3 people are dead after 2 separate shootings in St. Catherine and Westmoreland last night. Herman Green reports.
2 deadly shootings in St. Catherine and Westmoreland over the past few hours. In St. Catherine, 33-year-old Damian Marilyn of a Mansfield address was shot dead in Homestead. Reports are that Mr. Marilyn, a man and a woman, were at a party around 10 o'clock when gunmen drove up and fired several shots, sending patrons scampering. Mr. Marilyn was hit and he was pronounced dead at hospital. The other 2 persons were admitted in serious condition. The St. Catherine North Police are trying to determine the motive for that shooting. Meanwhile, in George's Plain, Westmoreland, 2 men were shot dead at a party. The deceased have been identified as 48-year-old Owen King, an entertainment promoter, and a 50-year-old man known only as Chambers. It's understood that patrons were at a dance along Jane Marks Lane when a motor car drove up. 2 armed men alighted the vehicle and opened fire, hitting Mr. King and Mr. Chambers. The men were taken to hospital where they were pronounced dead.
I'm broken right now. I'm shocked. Just can't believe. So my uncle died. I just can't believe. He was a jovial person. He just loved music. He just always had me once around him. He just can't boring.
No motive has been established for the attack. Herman Green, TVJ News.
A tragic motor vehicle crash has left 2 members of the Jamaica Defense Force dead and 2 others injured on Old Hope Road in St. Andrew this morning. The other soldiers are in hospital. One is said to be in critical condition. TVJ News was informed that the soldiers were returning from a party when their vehicle crashed into the wall at Waterfalls. Head of the Police Accidents Investigation and Reconstruction Unit, ASP Della Lewis, says the crash took place around 3:30 Friday morning.
The car was traveling southerly along Hope Road, right heading towards Matskana, where it's alleged that the driver failed to negotiate a left-hand curve. And as a result, the vehicle head straight and collided into a perimeter wall. From the extent of the damage, it is evident that some level of speed was involved.
ASP Lewis says the investigation is at a critical stage as investigators are still trying to determine the exact cause of the crash.
Right here in my hand is the damage event data recorder, which we call the black box. So I'm going to spend some time to analyze whatever data I can get from it as to identify, what sort of activity the vehicle was engaging at the time of the crash.
There's an urgent appeal this afternoon from residents of Woodsville, Hanover, for the Hopewell Bridge to be repaired before lives are lost. They say their elected representatives have visited the area several times, but to date nothing has been done to stop the deterioration of the structure. O'Shane Masters reports.
This is the bridge that community members and the motoring public traverse for work and back home on a daily basis. But the condition is not conducive for that heavy usage. The reason? The underside of the structure has been deteriorating for months now. The residents told our news team that from as early as April this year, they have been calling on their elected representatives to have the issue rectified. But they say their calls seem to have fallen on deaf ears.
So MPM is a councillor, do with the ask you please, man. You don't treat the people like this, man, like you're only looking out for your party people. No, don't do that, man. We are all friends, we are all people. You don't treat us like cats and dogs.
And when this bridge broke down, I don't see councillor, I don't see MP, I don't see the Prime Minister, I don't see no big boy come here.
The residents say the daily usage of the bridge is a threat Hence, they are calling on Prime Minister Andrew Holness to intervene.
It is sad that from the 21st of April that this bridge has been torn down. Promises have been made and nobody at all has seen it fit to come here and have meaningful stuff to do. And I may speak this as the Prime Minister, the buck stops with you. So I'm going to speak with you. And everybody want one pair of clocks. You understand what I say? And not everybody want one pair of clocks. Some people want bridge. Some people want road. You understand what I say? So everybody go dance and kick up their foot and say, hey, we want the clocks. Right now, persons in this community here is suffering. What could be a 45-minute drive to Montego Bay can now be a 2-hour drive depending on traffic. You understand what I say? You need 100 clocks to wear out to do them kind of distance.
But the municipal corporation says the bridge was ordered closed.
We are encouraging them not to use the bridge because it's a very dangerous situation, and the signs are there, and the signs remain there, and the bridge is closed. So we know the situation is dangerous, and persons can get themselves endangered at the location. So we are asking them to desist from using this bridge.
The residents are, however, hopeful that some work will be carried out on the bridge before the new year, as they say the alternative route is much longer and costs them much more. O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
Head of the St. Anne Police, Senior Superintendent Dwight Powell, is reporting a surge in violent crimes in the parish. SSP Powell says most of these crimes are due to related domestic issues. Since the start of the year, St. Anne recorded some 55 murders. Troubling when compared to the 48 recorded over the same period last year.
That's what indicate that the increases that we are seeing in murders, 1/3 of the murders are attributed across St. Anne to conflict, domestic situations. And so we have been watching a few domestic conflict situations across Brownstown, Orange Hill, across Windsor, across Steertown, across Highland.
But SSP Powell is insisting that the lawmen have the situation under control.
We have made some significant arrests in terms of persons who have committed crime of murder in the parish. And so, despite the slight uptick that we are seeing, we have been making some tremendous progress in terms of our crime-solving initiative. So permit me to move on from the current situation.
As it relates to other serious crimes, SSP Powell says they're still challenged in dealing with robberies and break-ins.
We are seeing an increase in the robberies of about 44 more cases when compared to last year. Significantly though, I want to indicate to Council that we have been making some significant stride in terms of arrests for these robberies. So as we speak, we were having some challenges with some bikers, and I'm pleased to report to Council that we managed to have some significant breakthrough. So we have some of the bikers in custody.
He says the issue with robbers using taxis to carry out these activities is also being addressed, as a number of them are now in police custody, waiting to face the courts. And on another issue, SSP Powell says he will be meeting with representatives of the Tourism Product Development Company, TPDCO, today to address issues faced by rafters in White River Ucherias.
I'm aware of some report that is in mainstream media where the rafters are seeking for extension from NECO as it relates to the notice that was served on them. Well, that is with the environment and people, but from law enforcement we continue to see our best we can bring some harder to White River. And so come tomorrow, we'll be meeting again with the Tourism Product Development Company to see how best we can craft the way forward for White River.
More Jamaicans will get an opportunity to undergo long-awaited surgeries. This as the Minister of Health has made arrangements with more private health facilities in Kingston and St. Andrew to carry out the procedures.
If you've been on the waiting list at a public health facility to undergo an elective surgery, you may be able to receive treatment at a private health facility. This as the Ministry of Health, through the Code Care program, has been outsourcing surgical care to ease the backlog caused by the COVID-19 pandemic.
We are trying to pull about 200 to 300 here in the Sierra region, which includes Kingston and St. Andrew, St. Catherine, St. Thomas. And we have compiled, I think, up to now about 70 or 75. So we're still going through the files and trying to pull and get persons to come on board.
The Health Ministry has signed MOUs with a few private healthcare facilities operating in Kingston and St. Andrew.
We have sought to identify as many of the private institutions as possible.
But there are concerns that the operating facilities in the public health system need to be upgraded to perform these type of surgeries.
Agree on a price. It's a below market rate, as I am told, so it's still cheaper to the government than it would if you were to pay a full market price, and put a schedule in place to clear up some of this backlog.
But Dr. Tofton explained that there is also a shortage of specialized nurses in this area. He revealed that a team of OR nurses will arrive in December. They will be attached to the Noel Holmes Hospital in Hanover as part of the Code Care program. Procurement has started for upgrading the operating theaters, and as it relates to boosting the current number of OR nurses in Jamaica,
we have already signed the MOU with and Hartford Health Systems. The teams are now reviewing the course outline for emergency care and for oncology, cancer care, and I'm hoping that they will agree on an outline that will see the first batch of trainees. These are RNs now who will go to do advanced training sometime in the early new year.
Jamila Maitland, TVJ News.
Despite the completion of the Port Maria Fire Station in St. Mary, firefighters are yet to occupy the premises. But why? The matter was discussed yesterday at the Municipal Corporation meeting. More in this report.
When will the Port Maria Fire Station be open? A question many have been asking for quite some time. Now, work on the new building has been completed, but to date, firefighters are yet to occupy the facility. Speaking at Thursday's Municipal Corporation meeting, Deputy Superintendent Andrew Wildman provided this update.
We have reached a stage of practical completion. By that, it means that the building can be used and any minor defects any minor defects that are there can be corrected during the usage of the building.
The Jamaica Fire Brigade has been using rented facilities since the fire station was abandoned in 2006.
We are now in the process of furnishing the building. To date, we have not occupied any section of the building. But as I said, we are in the process of furnishing the building. So you'll see the truck over there, you'll see me over there, and I'm hastening to leave here to go over there in a few minutes from now.
Earlier this year, local government minister Desmond McKenzie promised the station would be opened this year. Mayor for Port Maria Richard Query questioned Deputy Superintendent Wildman about when his team will be able to occupy the new fire station.
There is a proposed timeline to occupy sections of the building by the 15th of this month. Proposed timeline.
So we are extremely happy for the fire department because you have suffered long and hard. And finally, you will be able to occupy the building.
So with just 4 days remaining, it's left to see whether the firefighters will be able to occupy the facility come next week. O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
It's now time for the Business Minute. Here's Cody and Barrett.
In the banking sector, Jamaica's first digital-based all-inclusive loans company, Seed Jamaica, has announced its presence with a Christmas gift. The company is handing out $50,000 grants to each individuals within its targeted clientele with the hope of planting a seed in their lives toward their financial freedom. Seed Jamaica is led by Michael Lee Chin Jr., the son of bank owner Michael Lee Chin, along with experts in the banking and finance industry. The company is currently awaiting approval from the Bank of Jamaica to launch into operation. In the global economy, the UK economy shrank in the third quarter of this year, signaling the start of a recession that is likely to spread across Europe next. On Friday, the Office for National Statistics revealed that the UK GDP fell 0.2% between July and September, ending 5 consecutive quarters of growth. The United Kingdom is the only G7 economy to have contracted in the third quarter and is now 0.4% smaller than it was at the end of 2019 before the coronavirus pandemic began. And coming up in the Business Review this Sunday, we're exploring more options for a unique style of footwear with Devani sandals. That's it for the Business Minute. I'm Cordian Barrett.
It's now time for the top regional and international stories. Here's Sandy Williams.
In the region, the Belize government says face-to-face classes will resume on November 14. This after classes were disrupted because of damages caused by Hurricane Lisa. But the Belize National Teachers Union has taken issue with the early return to the classroom, noting that there were still several factors to take into consideration before the resumption of classes. Despite the outcry, the Belize Prime Minister says the decision for students to return to school is non-negotiable. On the international scene, China has announced a series of changes to its COVID-19 protocols. This comes amid growing public resentment towards its zero-COVID policy. Inbound international passengers will now see their pre-departure test requirement reduced from 2 to 1, and their mandatory quarantine upon arrival cut from 7 days to 5 days. But international travelers who do not have a permanent address in China will still need to do 8 days of quarantine in a hotel. This makes China the last major economy still adhering to a zero-COVID policy. And those are the top regional and international stories. I'm Sandy Williams.
We head to a quick break. When we come back, we'll have your midday sports report with Jermaine Brown.